Thanks for being here, my friend. Really appreciate you being here. And guys, if you don't know who Felipe is, he's the COO of Done For You Meetings. He's a literal machine at creating systems. He's from Brazil. He's living in Thailand with his business partner Michael. And last week, he was shoveling buckets of water out of his Airbnb. Is that correct? What happened there?
That is quite crazy. First of all, hi, and thanks for having me on. This is a big pleasure, and that was a kind introduction. But yeah, that happened. It happens that we are in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and we are in a valley, so it happens to flood a lot. And we were like with buckets taking the water out and just making sure our electronics weren't damaged, and wasn't that much fun. But after we're like, okay, that was an adventure. That was interesting.
Man, yeah. I was supposed to meet with Michael last week, but I got the text like, "Hey, man, can't make it. We're shoveling buckets out of water or buckets of water out of the place." So, man, well, like I said, glad you're here. I gave you a little introduction. If you want to give yourself an introduction, I know there's probably some things I didn't touch on.
Yeah, for sure. So I can backtrack a little bit just to give people context on what I can speak on.
Sure.
So I'll go back to when I was like, I believe like 17. This is gonna be a fast story. When I say 17, people are already like, oh my god, here it comes. But so here's what happens. I was in college. I did 4 courses in college. I pretty much learned what I wanted to learn and dropped out to start a business. Right, with my cousin. He was a personal trainer, and we had also nutritionists. So we started an info product fitness industry that went amazing. We were in it for like 1 or 2 years, and we sold the company at the end. So it was doing very well, very well, very well, and we got acquired. So we sold the company. Now I had all of the time in the world, and what would I do? So I started an agency. It was the classic ads agency. And by the time I was looking into how to acquire more clients, and the method I was looking for is cold email. And if you talk about cold email, everyone is gonna talk about Michael Garner, which is
Yep.
known as the cold email god, right? So I found him on YouTube. I liked his content. I applied it. I got a client, and I was like, okay, how can I help this guy back? Because I just got a client out of his content. So
hmm
I reached out back to him. I was like, dude, let me help you with video making. I know how to do everything that's being behind the camera and editing and so forth. So he was like, yeah, let's hop on a call. We jumped in. We liked each other. He flew me out to Acapulco, first travel of my life. Never been on an airplane. Uh, and then we started to get an agency, Facebook ads agency. We started to grow that. And then, like a few months after, we saw an opportunity with his other company, the FY Meetings, the one I'm at right now, which was doing great. And we were like, okay, how could we just like concentrate our efforts into the second agency, which is doing better? So then we stopped the ads agency and started on Codimo. And that's where I got most of my growth from, to be honest. Like in terms of systems, operations, management, and so forth, it came from there. So that's pretty much everything in a nutshell.
Yeah, I think just not a lot of people really um, just see the value in just providing somebody value. I mean, if you're watching
Yeah.
somebody on
Mhm.
YouTube and they're providing, content that really resonates with you, just offering, services and whatever they need help on, is just probably the best way to get, in the door with somebody. So,
Oh yeah, I'll actually expand on that. One thing that Michael's doing right now is he's hiring other appointment setters to manage his DMs because he receives way too many. And I look at that and I get shocked by people just saying, "Hey, brother, what about this? What do you think about my script? What about this? What about that?" And they never ever give some value. They're never like, "Hey, I got this for you. Thanks for the content." And I did a few cold emails before, Michael, that I met other people, and it was always, "Hey, here's some value. Here's some value." And all of them are my friends to this day, and they are big entrepreneurs. So I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to generate value upfront, because especially someone that's good at what they do, they already have a lot of people asking them for their time, asking them for their attention, and it's hard for them to give it because if they did it to everyone, they would have no time to do the important things. So
oh my God, yeah, man, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like, value is key, value before anything. Um,
yeah.
and I think that's kind of like a perfect transition. I know that you both have been working in the agency space for a while, but just you know, in regards to building systems just to maximize efficiency, what do you see in a lot of agencies or I guess businesses uh, not doing that they should be doing in regards
Mhm.
to building a system or just having systems in place?
Okay, so let's talk on that. There is a lot to be talked, and this will be I'll talk general principles, and then I'll go a little bit more narrow at the end. General principles, centralization. A lot of agencies have all of their information all over the place. So they have Google Drive, they have some things on Google Sheets that are not in like the main Google Drive, is in the media buyer's Google Drive or someone else's Google Drive. Then they use Asana, they use Trello. They have like a few things in Google Docs, then they use Paper to put their tasks down. There is no real centralization nor transparency of everything that's going on. So thing number one that I do whenever we do a build out for systems for someone is centralizing everything. In our situation, we use Airtable because it's completely custom built. We create whatever we want there and we control all of the variables. We do some coding in there as well. But anyway, we have all of the information in one place. You want to know anything about any client, you click a button and you have it. You want to know where a file is, you click a button and you have it. Like everything is very, very, very centralized. And the same goes for the tasks. Like we don't need to go different places or keep looking different places to find whatever we need to do and what's important to do. So that is number one thing. Now we talked about centralization. The second thing is this will be system as well as management. Is give everyone a seat, but only one person per seat. They cannot sit on top of each other. That's usually the example I give
Mm,
to emphasize this point. Um, this means if you want someone to do what you're doing, you need to let them do it. If you are always doing with them, you both are doing, no one is responsible for the failure. And at that point, like the person is not gonna take over. It's just not gonna happen. You need to give them the space for them to perform in that role so they can perform like without you after. So a good framework for you guys, the way we teach people in our company is a three-step process. Step number one is you see, you watch, and I do. Step number two is we do it together. And this is we're talking about 3 days now. Step number two is we do it together. Step number three is you do, I watch, and from there is just maintenance. So this is our training process. We never train people to think that we'll do it together. It's always, hey, it's gonna be 3 steps. I do, you watch, we do it together, and then you do, and I'll just do maintenance. I'll come in and see if it is working. Um, so those would be the two big concepts I would say. Uh, Going broad, right?
right, right. And so, in total, more or less, how many, I guess, not employees, but just like VAs or people working for you in total do you have right now?
Right now we are at 18, and we'll be scanning soon. We have two new listers coming up this week, so we'll be at around 20 very, very soon.
Man, okay. And so I know you and Michael are infamous for traveling to different parts of Thailand, almost every 2 weeks to every month, right? And
I
so,
just came back from a place like yesterday, so
yeah, man. I mean, I'm going to Argentina next week. I'm a fellow digital nomad.
nice.
I'm all for that. And so, how how are you building these systems to be so efficient and allow you to be so hands off and take what would, I guess, crush another business in this
Hmm.
market, right? I mean, a vacation every 2 weeks or every month is while managing 18 employees is no easy feat.
Yeah. So first, I'll actually give the disclaimer that it's not easy. A lot of people want the easy fix, right? It's not something easy, and we definitely do work in these vacations. We don't just put our laptop to the side and now we enjoy. It's like yes, we enjoy, but we are also managing business. And one thing about traveling, this is something I learned from Michael, is you don't travel for short periods. I did this mistake like this weekend, but I did work a lot. But you don't travel for short periods. You go in for a month, so you don't need to rush to see things. So you do one activity today, go back to work. Like you don't get tired from doing touristy things, so to say. Like you don't just go around and try to do everything, and then you're super tired, you cannot work. You just do one thing, work, another thing, another day, and like you don't rush through things. So that's what I will say. The reason we can do it is because we don't rush through things. We don't do short trips. Um, Now, in terms of how we do the management, right? One thing we are very strong on is automations, and we are putting our company on like huge automations now. It's even more than before, but we have red flag systems to know. Okay, this person is not performing. We have end of day reports they need to create, and we also have a KPI tracking system inside our Airtable. So we know everything everyone has done when they've done it, and we have a few red flag systems that trigger as soon as they don't do something, or they're lacking on something or something is going wrong, something has a big delay. Um, so yeah, that's how we can control all of that. And then just a quick call, we always realign and we go from there. This is also an aspect that we will touch on real quick is always address things fast. I see a lot of entrepreneurs. They see an issue and they're like, okay, they're gonna figure it out, or no, he's not stupid. He'll know it, right? He'll know it, and they don't address it immediately. And that's when things start to grow more and more and more, and like then you have a huge issue at the end. So I would say keep track of all of the mess ups, so to say, and address them immediately, and make sure the person creates a plan for it not to happen again. It's okay to make mistakes. It's not okay to keep repeating a mistake. You need to create a plan. That's why you need to address it immediately. So,
Yeah. But powerful stuff, man. Speed is key. Speed is going to make you,
oh,
yeah, it's going to, scale you the fastest way. So definitely on
I
board
think
with
that's
that.
something interesting you just mentioned here about speed and scaling, right? Um, for all of your listeners that are also into Alex Hormozy, he speaks about volume, right? And volume and speed are tied together. I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the agency world, they start, and you know what I'm going to say now, and they're outreaching to 50 people a week. And they're like, man, I'm not getting clients, I'm not getting calls, what's going on? And then they are in an e-com like Facebook ads agency selling to fashion and they never get a call. And you look at they only like outreach to 50 people. So the point being here is you need to have volume, high volume, and speed. You need to do it fast. And when we say high volume, like our best clients are getting like 100 calls a week, and they have 500 inboxes, and all of them are sending 45 emails a day. So you do the math. That's
Yeah.
how you grow. Um, so
Yeah, that I totally agree with you, man. I think that that's a super great point you brought up. I mean, in regards to somebody just starting or maybe they're like 6 months in, number one, they need to learn cold email. And yes, they may have a niche, but if it's a saturated niche like a Facebook ads for a fashion brand, then you're gonna have to send 200 emails, maybe if you don't really have any like appealing copy yet. Maybe you'll book one call, and after those 200 emails you send, that's only one call. So really,
yeah,
you now just have one call of experience. And like you said, with volume, you need volume to really see what works and what doesn't. And
yeah,
just, I hear you, man. Speed is key. And just in regards to setting up clear copy as to what makes your offer different or how you could appeal to this specific niche, that's what's going to get you the volume the fastest. And if you have more volume, then you're going to get more calls, which means you're going to have more experience, which means you're going to get more close, and you're going to see what's working, what's not, get rid of what's not working, and just, double down on what is. So great point, man. Great point.
yeah. And that brings to the next point that I think will be relevant for your audience here, for the beginners at least, is actually for the advanced people too. We just talked about fundamentals, right? So we talked about volume, we talked about leveraging your good stuff, right? So the way you're gonna talk to everyone. One thing I see a lot is people not focusing on the fundamentals. For example, copywriting fundamental number one is get into people's heads, right? You need to understand what they're thinking and what will appeal to them. And I see a lot of people doing this wrong. So they do. Let's talk about Codim, and then we can relate this to ads or whatever else. Is they have a message that they think is gonna work for everyone. So they reach out to all sorts of like job titles with all sorts of genders, with all sorts of like places, and they think it's gonna work. It's not. Let me tell you something. If you're reaching out to bikini companies, you're doing ads or you're doing cold email, and you want to reach out to the founders, and if you talk to a female about ROI and having a super positive ROI and like getting like more return on like everything that you're doing and making the machine more efficient, you're missing out big time because you could be talking about crushing it with ads and making sure you're making an impact. That's more how they would speak, more what they would resonate with. So in cold email, in ads, is always think of who you're talking to. And this is something that Michael is the best at. When he writes scripts, everyone just watches. Everyone's just like, wow, what just happened here? Um, because he has that sense of, okay, who am I talking to? And in business, it goes back to like fundamentals. So volume, like putting yourself in people's heads, like even with employees, sometimes you're just thinking they know stuff, but you didn't look it through their perspective. In their perspective, depending how much they're making, they're not even thinking of trying to find ways to make it better because they're not business owners. They don't care about the growth in 2 years or like whatever else. So
Right.
always put yourself in someone's shoes when you're looking at creating a message that has an impact.
Sure. Yeah, totally agree with that, man.
Yeah.
So I know that you and Michael pretty much have polar opposite skill sets, right?
Yeah.
You're he's the email guy, you're the systems guy. I know sometimes I think I watched a video of him saying like sometimes I don't even know what Felipe's doing. So I just kind of want to touch on two things. One, how important do you think it is, if you have a business partner, for you to have almost opposite skill sets that kind of feed into each other? And number two, how do you monitor um, what each other are doing? I mean, obviously, Michael's the email guy, and you can understand email pretty well, but how would Michael understand what you're doing system wise and making sure that it's getting done efficiently? Just from what makes a business partner a good business partner.
Yeah. So I love this topic. The main thing is personality. So let's talk about personality real quick. I'm not talking about, hey, you both like watches, even though we do. It is more in the sense of, okay, we have, I'll give you our example. So there is a test you can do. It's called the DISC test. It's a personality assessment. And it's going to show you if you're either on like the D side, which is a dominant person, you're an influencer, you're the control person, you're steady. And we both did this test and we are opposites. He's very high on D, like off the charts, which makes him great at sales, makes him great at meeting people, at controlling the business, making sure he's good with the financials and so forth. And I'm very high on the C, which is control. So I'm very good with systems, with like troubleshooting, like narrowing down the approach, where he's good at going very wide, right? There is a good book for everyone that's looking to start work with a partner, which is called Rocket Fuel, I believe, from Gino Wickman, and it talks about the visionary and the integrator, right? And Michael's a very, very, very good visionary, and I'm very good integrator. So it happened that we just found each other to work well in that sense. Um, Now, in regards to tracking each other, we look at the results, right? So I
Right.
look at Michael and I'm okay. How many calls are we getting for the company? How many are we closing? How many new clients are we bringing in? Are they good? Are you going to podcasts? Are you like doing your stuff that's bringing more people, right? Are you doing the visionary part? He's also the CEO, so from time to time he just comes in, looks at our fulfillment, just finds holes, and he's like, "Dude, you guys gotta focus into this. This needs to be better." Um, so yeah, he's out of fulfillment now, so he's not even doing scripts. He trains people to do scripts because he's just the best at that. But he's out of fulfillment, so we have a separation from sales and fulfillment. As soon as he's done with the sales, he just sends fulfillment and doesn't touch it again. He doesn't do communication, doesn't do anything like that. We take care from there. Now, in the sense of him knowing what systems am I building, he can look at the things that we are improving in the sense of, okay, this time you're getting more leads. Was that a system that was implemented? Yes or no? Or we are not getting enough leads. Is there a lack of a system? Like that's more, it's more broad, but what we look at the end of the day is the end result. Are we getting booked appointments? So for everyone that's listening, we have a cold email agency, and our main goal is to get booked appointments for other B2B companies. Um, so yeah, he just looks, are we getting the results? Are clients being communicated with? And yeah, that's how we
Yeah.
do it.
Nice. So, do your systems ever break?
They do.
And if they do, I guess what's kind of your process? I know you talked about the red flag a little bit, but when your systems break, what's your process of kind of dissecting and analyzing what broke and making sure it doesn't happen again?
Yeah. So I'll give you the answer to that. I'll also tell you how I would troubleshoot as a beginner versus how I would troubleshoot with a big company, right? Because the way we troubleshoot with 18 employees, 20 employees soon, is much different on how I would troubleshoot if it was just me and Michael or just myself. Um, so let's talk about it. First of all, our systems do break, and they break often because that's the nature of systems. As soon as you put a lot of pressure, something is going to break because either you're not getting the speed, either you're not getting the quality, or you're not getting the scale. So one of the three things are it's going to break at some point. Let's say, okay, we have a system that's working perfectly to get like 100 of appointments for every client every month, and it's running well. It's running well for a month, but now we start bringing more clients and starts breaking. Okay, was it an issue with the system? No, it's just we need to adapt it. So yes, it broke, but at the end of the day, like it's a different system that's necessary to support a certain scale, right? Also, systems will break whenever people break. So let's say someone. This is something very interesting. I see a lot of people beginning with systems, and they think they should automate everything. They should create systems for everything, and then they do it, but the result is not there because they don't
Yeah.
have the talent. So you can overcreate systems. We definitely did it, but I would say focus on talent first because with the right talent, you need much less systems. Um, now that is said, as soon as you change your talent, your system will need to change, so it will break again. Let's
Hmm.
talk about troubleshooting now. So troubleshooting as a beginner or someone that's like a one man show or you have a few VAs here and there it's more like this. Okay, what happened there? You always ask yourself, what happened there? And this is a tricky question because you can find a lot of answers to it. You can say, oh, the client didn't get any notifications. So you're like, okay, that is not the issue. So that is not like what happened here. What happened here is we didn't do what we were supposed to do when we were supposed to do it, and now the client doesn't get any notifications. So we need to go back. Okay, why wasn't that done? And then like, okay, was it a system issue of the sense that people didn't know they were supposed to do it and they didn't know how to do it and that we were expecting from them, or was it that the person was lazy? And then we go back to talent. So you need to find like the core issue that you're gonna improve, right?
Right.
Often we see it's not a system issue. Um, we did find a system issue recently. I'm going to share it with you. It was tracking. We weren't tracking like to the T what campaigns were generating what results. And when we started tracking, we realized one of our well clients wasn't touched for 14 days. Massive, like F up, right? Sorry for the bad language, but massive. So we found that through tracking. That was a system issue. But that was a system issue after like a long time of only talent issue. So yeah, troubleshooting as a beginner is again, what is the core issue and how can you troubleshoot that? If it is a person, go ahead and hire a new one. One thing you guys will see, and this is for the beginners and for the advanced, is you will never see a B player turning into an A player. It's just, if it happens, please hit me up. I would love to hear the first time it happened. I don't know of anyone, and we met huge entrepreneurs, they never see a B player turns into an A player. Now, something that happens is A players sometimes turn into B players, and you want to be aware of that and catch it when it happens, and like assess it immediately. So you either will put them in a performance improvement plan, or you're gonna replace them, right? So yeah, keep that in mind. Now, let me think. What else could I share on that sense with you? Um, yeah, so find the core issue. That is what I said. Like I just went in a few examples here and there, but like find a core issue and you troubleshoot that. Likely it won't be a system issue unless you don't have like centralization. People take a long time to find what they need to do. They don't know what they need to do. Then yeah, go ahead and create a system.
Yeah.
Now, when you start growing and you have a few employees, the way you want to do it is you want to ask questions. So it happened. Now you go to all of your employees that are related to that area, that section of the business, and you ask them, okay, what happened here? And you don't speak. You let them talk. How do you think we could fix this? And let them talk. Most likely they won't give you the solution, but they will give you the core issue, which is harder to identify when you're bigger. So you need to ask people, let them be part of this, let them feel like they're part of it. And as soon as they give you the answer of, okay, this is the core issue, like, okay, if I did X, Y, and Z, would that make you understand that you needed to do this? Would that make you understand the path to get that, right? And then it's just a yes or no from there, and you create a system. Um, or, of course, an automation broke, you just need to fix it. But that's the core elements of it all. Does that make sense?
Yo, yeah, that totally makes sense. And I
Yeah.
want to ask you, kind of, that was a lot, man. So I really appreciate it. But just in regards to some of these systems that you've built, do you think um, hiring some of these B players have helped you improve your systems, or do you think that maybe hiring some of these A players have kind of what I'm getting at is, do you think systems have helped with your hiring, and do you think hiring has helped with your systems in any way? Have they kind of fed into each other, and do you think that's improved kind of how you look at a potential new employee that you're about to bring on? Hey there, quick interruption. First of all, I hope you're enjoying the show. Make sure to leave a rating of how you honestly feel. Hopefully, it's providing you at least some value. Second of all, if you're in the e-commerce space or you're an e-commerce owner, I want to talk to you about two companies that I'm the co-founder of. One is Carbon Box Media, which actually specializes in growing e-commerce brands. So if you're in the e-commerce space and you're not seeing the return on ad spend that you'd like to see, whether that's via TikTok, Instagram Meta, Google Ads, or you just don't have a quality, consistent pipeline of quality creatives, we shoot those for you. So I'd love to just have a one-on-one with you and just see if we can help each other out and just provide value to each other. Secondly, I'm the co-founder of Augality, which is an augmented reality firm that specializes in creating augmented reality experiences for e-commerce brands. So if you're looking to increase your ROAS, go ahead and head to carbonboxmedia.com. If you're looking to dip your toes into Web3 with your e-commerce store, I'd love to see you in Augality. Augality is Augality. It's augmented and reality morphed into one word, Augality, right? So thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying the show. And yeah, now back to the show. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
I love that question. So B players definitely made me overcreate systems
Mm,
because I in the beginning I thought it was system. Well, it was not at all. It was pure talent, but that helped us a lot because we streamlined the business to a point where now we can sell it as almost as a SaaS. Like the system runs by itself because we overcreated systems, right?
mm,
Now, the thing about hiring A players is they create systems themselves. You can delegate an entire section of the business to them. I'll give you one example. I was putting a lot of my time into managing lead listers until we hired this guy to take over managing and taking over all lead generation. He came in, he brought new systems of his own. I didn't touch it. He was like, guys, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and this is gonna be the output. And I was like, dude, if that's the output, go for it. Um, and our lead generation improved. We got a gain of what was it? I think 300%. We're like 3xing our amount of output in terms of lead generation. So the right talent is going to bring systems for you. They're going to write SOPs, standard operating procedures for you, right?
mm.
Um, so yeah, there's a balance. Like with B players, you will definitely overcreate system, and you're going to put the fault at yourself that things are not working. But it's just that the player is not performing whatever they need to perform. Um, so yeah, but the things I'll give a caveat here. The things you should be looking for is clarity. Do they have clarity on what you do and what's the process? If they do, and you told them you expect them to do it, then that's a person problem right now, right there, talent problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was all over the place, but did it make sense, Etienne?
Oh, Felipe, yeah, you are providing some value. We talked about value at the beginning, and now we're this deep, and we're still providing value, man. This is good stuff. I'm loving this. So,
Love it.
kind of to just like transition out of systems for a bit. We're both digital nomads, and I have my own personal opinion on this, but I'd love to get your opinion on this, just because you're also a digital nomad. Do you recommend that somebody move out of the country that they're currently living? So I'm from the USA. I was paying around 800 to 1200 a month to live. I moved to Spain. My rent went from 1100 to 300, and that allowed me to focus pretty much laser in on just scaling my agency, learning as much as I could. Like we talked about, volume, volume, volume. And I really didn't have to worry about any, overhead or high rent, and food was cheap too. So for somebody just starting out, and this is under the lens that the business is completely online, you don't have to go check in on the warehouse or whatever to make sure stock is there. But do you
Yeah.
think it would be smart for somebody just starting out, if they're living in an expensive country, to go move into a cheaper country such as Thailand, such as Argentina, and really just kind of focus in there? Or do you think it's better for them to make money in their own country, and then once they kind of have the flow, they're making some money, then do the digital nomad lifestyle? I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
Yeah, I love the question. This is gonna go deep because I'll have different layers of answers. Okay,
Hmm.
so I would say it depends, and I'll tell you why. Okay, we had a lot of people come live with us. We met a lot of people along the way, and a few things. Some people are not entrepreneurs, and they should accept the fact that they will be so much better. And honest, I'm genuine now. They would be so much better with a job. Like they don't make it for entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone. If it was, we would have so many more millionaires right there.
Yeah.
It is not. It's hard. You need to know how to deal with risk. You need to be smart. You need to move fast. Like there are a lot of things that the average person is not gonna have. And I'm not saying like this for average person. I'm saying like even for exceptional people, sometimes they just don't have the personality to be an entrepreneur. Um, I'm one of those types. I was always an entrepreneur, but I always had partners. So if I was to be a one man show and try to do it all my own, I would do okay. I would never do like great stuff. And to do great stuff, you need people, by the way. But anyway, so some people should get a job. That's the beginning of it all. And maybe they should stay with their parents while they're getting some money and like stack some cash, have a safety net. Don't be dumb. Don't go do something crazy. Um, but yeah, now that I said that, let's go to the second layer. I do highly recommend moving out of your parents' house. That's thing number one. You're gonna grow so much more. Like you can let go of everything that's like holding you back in that sense. If it happens for you, if you have a great family, ignore what I just said. Um, yeah. So there is that. Now, moving to a different country is very good for different reasons, in my opinion. One of them is exposure to a different culture, which when we say this to someone that never traveled, they're like, okay, I get it, but you don't. I'll give you one example. Something Michael and I talked about yesterday. Michael's in Vietnam right now, and he sent me a video of him going to his penthouse there, and it was scary, and like it was so poor and so scary. And me being from Brazil, I was like, dude, do you at least have a knife or something? And he was like, dude, it's so safe. So one difference from America just to like Asia is poor doesn't mean dangerous. In America, again, it doesn't happen everywhere, but it does happen to some places. And I would be so scared to walk there. But being here, it's all okay. It's all fine. There is not much violence going here. Like there is so many different things that you're gonna learn when you get to a different place. That's one is gonna help you with neuroplasticity. So you get better understanding of things just because you got exposed to more things. Um, but yeah, I would highly recommend moving to a different country, getting a different culture in, and also like cut down your living costs. Right here in Thailand, we pay like 200 bucks a month for a great place. So I highly recommend it. Highly recommend traveling the world. Highly recommend being away, and of course, cutting your costs if you can. Uh, just remember the trick of you're not there just to look around. You're there to work. So you go for a month, and when you have the time, you go in and you explore. It's a different mindset, right? It's not the backpacker that's trying to do his work in a coffee shop. No, you go in, you go full on work, and then when you have time, you're knowing this new place, right? So that is my opinion right there.
I love what you talked about in regards to neuroplasticity. I mean, talk about your brain always firing off. I mean, you wake up, uh, you know, 6 hours of work, just sitting down, and now you're like, oh, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee. Well, now you have to speak that language or learn how to speak that language. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just kind of always having your brain fire off and just immersion into another culture, man. I cannot recommend that enough to a lot
Yeah.
of my friends in the business space. And yeah, I grew a business and I also learned Spanish. I killed two birds with one
Boom.
stone. Going to Argentina to keep the Spanish up. Maybe I'll head back to Spain. Maybe I'll head to Portugal. Maybe I'll come see you guys in Thailand. But just the neuroplasticity, man, you nailed it. Just always having your brain fire. And I'll tell you what, if you're doing that, good luck not sleeping. I mean, you're going to get the best night of sleep ever if your brain's just
Oh
consistently like digging deep. Right, what was that word? Or did I get back to that client? Yeah, I love that, man. I love that.
yeah. Here's another thing that's very interesting, especially for you guys, if you're in America, right? I say especially there because this is something I learned again from Michael and other Americans. Is you guys are not sheltered at all, but you guys are a little bit limited to like knowing what's goes on in the rest of the world in the sense of like more a deeper sense. Like
Yeah,
most people won't know where like that Africa is not a country, for example. Like it's just part of like what happens there, right?
yeah,
But here's something that's kind of interesting: is if you read books written by Americans and that's all you read, sometimes you're gonna miss out on the information that changes across like countries or continents, right?
yeah,
Um, if we talk about like the way human beings like the way we work, people are gonna say if you play sports everyone is aggressive, everyone wants to win, they will get angry if you like go against them like you're playing basketball. Then you come to Thailand and you play basketball or you fight Muay Thai. I find Muay Thai, Michael plays basketball, but I punched a guy the other day and he said sorry, and the people that were watching him were applauding me. I will never see that in Brazil or like when anywhere else, in America at least. So it's different. There are different cultures. People like they exist in different ways, so to say. So the risk of only reading books that were like sheltered into one place is you're getting limited perspective. That's why traveling helps you so much.
yeah,
And I definitely noticed my growth with that. Is most stuff that I read, I now disregard because I see in Asia is completely different and they are still human beings. So human nature it definitely has a few laws, a few things that like that are the same across the board. But there are a lot of things that's just people only saw one place, and that's how why they're writing about it, and it's just not true in different places.
yeah,
So point being is don't be there just reading books. You need the experience, and you need to see what different cultures do.
yeah.
So
Experience is the best teacher, right?
yeah.
You just gotta go. You gotta get out. And yeah, man, I think Americans have the biggest problem. I mean, Texas, you could fit Italy, Spain, and half of France in that state. And if you go to the bottom of Spain versus the north of Spain, there's like five different languages in between. If you go to the bottom of Texas to the top of Texas, people are going to speak with the exact same accent and the exact same language. So we are very limited in regards to just cultural exposure. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I really am trying to um, grow my network in regards to other digital nomads. rather, like, of course I'll always have my friends at home, and I'm sure you'll always have your friends at home. But
Yeah.
I really, I'm really this year I'm trying to focus on just surrounding myself by people that are living the same lifestyle I'm doing. They're entrepreneurs, they're trying to grow their business, and they're traveling. They're going from country to country, improving themselves, whether that's learning another language or growing their business. They're doing it. And that's just step
Mhm.
one, is just getting out of your comfort zone, whether it's for a week, a month, or a year and a half like me. I mean, just taking that step. You guys got to get out there. You got to get out there. It's a big world. There's a lot to see.
Yeah. And I'll put a disclaimer, by the way. I talked about America, but Brazil is the same thing, especially where I came from. Like, I came from a city that had like 7,000 people living in it. It's a cow town. So yeah, like, but now I'm seeing that's not only Brazil, not only my place, but yeah, even America and so forth. Which I love America, by the way. Not gonna say anything else, but I want to go there very soon. Um, but yeah, there's definitely like limited perspectives, and even a lot of our friends that travel a little bit through just America, like Central America, South America, and they don't have the experience of like being in Asia. It's
Mm,
just such a different mindset, such a different view of the world. Um, so I'll definitely say if you guys can change continents, that's gonna be probably life changing if you do it the right way. Now, I'll come back to your question before about leaving your country and traveling. Right? There was one thing I missed, which is if you want to do it, you gotta be someone that uses the brain. Now, when I say that, some people may get mad at me, right? But we had a lot of people come visit us, and they just don't use their brains. They don't do research. They just go like randomly do stuff. They try to do one thing here, one thing there, and they usually get in trouble. So if you're planning on traveling, at least do your research. At least use your brain on like, okay, would this be okay? Would this not be okay? Um, and then you may be fine.
right. Yeah.
um, yeah, we always say this because we see a lot of people that just think everything's gonna be good, everything's gonna be okay, and then they get in trouble. We don't get in trouble like at all, but we also think a lot before we do anything. I'll give you one example. This is actually a curse, and Michael and I have a lot. We think a little bit too far every time. So we went to a party the other day. We are not really party guys. We don't really like it, but we wanted to see what it looks like here in Chiang Mai, right? And Michael was in, and he was like, "Dude, the moment I got in and I saw it was packed, and there was only one way to get out, I was thinking if there's a fire or something here, no one is getting out." So he was positioning himself more towards like the exit. So that's one example of like thinking way too many steps ahead. But most people don't think one step ahead. Um, and then bad things happen, especially if you're traveling through third world countries. So I just want to put that piece of not advice, but like of something to keep in mind.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
or
Street smarts is key. Man,
street smart.
of course Michael would think of, if there was a fire here, we need this is the only. Yeah, that's funny. That's such a Michael move. But no, that's totally fair, man. I know that there are a lot of entrepreneurs that are getting taken advantage of out there, and they're just trying to be a digital nomad,
Yeah.
and maybe they grew up in a small town. They had um, they're like a mama's boy, or they grew up with like a very close family, and now they're living, on their own for the first time outside of their small town, and yeah, it's a culture shock, and it can be scary. And so just do
Yeah.
some research about the country. There's pretty much a YouTube video of what life is like in X country. Make sure you
Yeah.
understand, where you're going, just kind of the cultural norms, the street smarts, like, maybe look left and right. Maybe don't be standing right next to the street with your phone out because some guy on a
Oh,
moped is gonna, just being smart. That's a really good point you brought up. So,
yeah.
yeah, man.
No.
Okay.
And dope. Let's
No,
take
go
from
ahead.
there.
I have one last question for you, but I mean, talking about this stuff is my favorite thing to talk about. So if you have more to add on this, then by all means.
Yeah, I have a question for you actually. What are your favorite countries so far and why?
So I've been to South Korea. My cousin lives in South Korea. I love South
Ooh.
Korea, um, but it's too metropolitan for me. I'm kind of like I like cities, but I don't like big cities. So I was
Mhm.
living in Cadiz in Spain, and to me it was paradise. There was about 120,000 people. It's about the same size as San Francisco in regards to miles, but with a
Mhm.
16th of the people. So there was space. There was great waves to go surfing. There was great food. I like to go somewhere and just kind of build a community around the people that are already there. I don't like I think people ironically feel the loneliest when they're surrounded by a bunch of people, if that makes sense. Like people in New York are probably the loneliest people around. People, in Paris are super lonely. Why? Because nobody, they just kind of go about their business. It's just another face. Nobody cares. But if you start to see the same face over and over again, then you start to say hi and you start to ask them about their day, then their family, then you go get lunch. And then you start to really just hone in on building a community with wherever you're at. And then that way you always have a home away from home. So if you ever want to come back, you'll always have people you can, that will treat you like an old friend, right? So that wasn't really the answer to your question, but kind of the mid city areas are my favorite. Like Sevilla
Hmm.
in Spain's great. Um, there's this place, I'm gonna botch this, but it's Biarritz in France, in the south of
Hmm.
France. Um, great waves. Wherever there's waves, I love surfing. Argentina, man, it's gonna be my first time in South America, so I'll let you know how that goes. I know you're from Brazil, which is a neighboring country, so if you've been to Argentina, I'd love to hear how that was. But
Yeah.
yeah, man, France, Spain, Korea. Korea was awesome in Asia. I want to get Europe out of my system, and then I want to get South America out of my system, and then it's Asia, and then I'm definitely exploring Asia. I want to go to
Nice.
Bali so bad, the best waves in the world. Oh my god. Uh, so yeah, I would say right now Spain is my favorite, just because that's my home away from home. But what about you? And how many countries have you guys been to, or just you?
First of all, I love that answer. I love that answer, especially about the waves. Just going surfing
Yeah.
everywhere. That's amazing. One quick caveat: if you do go to Brazil, hit me up before. Let me give you the good spots and introduce you to the right people. You're gonna love Brazil much more if you speak to me before. I will tell you that because it can go wrong in so many ways, but it also can go super well if you know where to go. Um, so yeah, just hit me up on that one. But
Thanks, man.
in regards
Appreciate that.
to
Yeah.
in regards to your question, we've been to. I can actually tell like the entire route. I didn't travel much. Michael is already like 40 countries in, so he's a
Wow.
proper digital nomad. The dude is his first country was actually India, which that is crazy. Like first time traveling from the US, he went to India. Um, Call that an adventure, huh? But he's a smart dude. He figured it out. But in regards to me, I started in Brazil. I never traveled. I was only in my state my entire life up until I was like 21. Met Michael, so we went to Acapulco, Mexico. Then we stayed a month there. We stayed another month in Mexico City, also Mexico. We then moved into Panama, stayed there for 2 or 3 months. Panama was very nice view in our apartment, but it was very like didn't have much of a culture going on. So we're like, okay, there is no special food in here. We didn't find anything that was different. Anyway, from there we went to Lima, Peru. Then we went to Brazil. We stayed in my hometown. Michael came over there. We went to Gramado. That's a very cool city in Rio Grande do Sul, Brazil. From there we went to São Paulo, Brazil. And São Paulo we went to Dubai. Dubai we went to Bangkok. Then stayed in Bangkok for a month. Then we came to Chiang Mai, and we were here in Chiang Mai for like 9, 10 months. And then we travel around Thailand, right? All the cities like Pattaya. We are soon going to Phuket, which is the island here in Thailand, one of the islands. And yeah, we are moving around.
I got some catching up to do. Oh my god. That's awesome. Wow.
You're gonna love Chiang Mai, not for the waves because we don't have a beach here, but like because of the people. This is so. This city is like it's cozy first of all, but also like it's so like welcoming, and you have a lot of digital nomads coming through. You have a lot of entrepreneurs. We definitely met a lot of people here. Mike introduced me to a lot of people that he knew in here. Um, and dude, this city is amazing. You're gonna see the same faces pretty much every day. It's very like on the sense of like a lot of digital nomads again.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this is another place that you may call home if you come here for long enough. I'll put the bet.
So, how important do you think traveling, because I know Dubai is like one of probably the networking capital of the world right now, just going
Yeah.
from place to place, how has that helped your business in regards to networking with people? Do you have like a guy you can call if you need X service now? How vital or important has that been to done for you meetings or just any of your ventures?
Yeah, that has been huge to be honest. So this past what was it, past Friday, I was fighting with one of the owners of one of the big email sending tools. Like I cannot name it, but like dude is huge, and like we were fighting Muay Thai together, and like now we are buddies. And Sometimes I need to know something about how emails are performing for Outlook, as an example. I can hit him up, and he's gonna be happy to help, as well as I'll be happy to help him with any way I can help him with. Um, so that has been massive, and like we met a lot of people along the way. But the main thing is, I'll talk again about neuroplasticity. I believe it's just so important for you to have like constant exposure to new things, so you're triggering new pathways in your brain, and you're constantly like growing the way you think, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Again, I'm not using like the scientific terms here, but like you're growing milling, you're firing like more circuits more times and like in different ways, so you're going the way you think, and that's gonna help you so much. And I would say I would definitely not know what I know if I didn't travel. If I only was exposed to the people and only exposed to like the technical stuff, our business would not be where it is at right now. Um, so yeah, it's fundamental, I would say.
Cool. Yeah. I'm I'm on my way. I'm on my way. I'll see you soon, man. I'll see you in
Well, that's
Phuket,
gonna
I
be
think.
dope.
Uh, all right, man. So I got my last question here. If you were to start from ground zero with the
Mhm.
knowledge that you've accumulated over the years since you started back when you were 17 years old, is there anything you would do differently, or is there any industry that you would focus on right now?
I love your question. So that I would do differently, no, because I got exposed to so many different things that now help me. I'll give you one example. So video making in the beginning, that I started doing content, that I started doing graphic design, then I started doing ads, and then I started doing like other stuff like around the business, like finance and so forth. And then I went on and like started an agency, so I learned a lot there. Then I started learning systems, I started learning about people management and so forth. So every different business I created helped me somehow. Like even if it didn't go super great, super well, I learned a lot, and now I can use those process or those thinking systems into different businesses. So that helped me. I wouldn't change anything I've done. um, if I were starting from the beginning, and this would be actually my advice to beginners, do not go for an industry that's saturated if you don't have leverage. What that means is, do not, and I will piss some people off now, do not try to start a Facebook ads agency for fashion brands if you are trying to get a contractor with case studies. If you don't even have a case study, do not go in. You're going to get crushed. It's saturated. It's not the moment you go in there. So do your research, try something that's like, again, the blue ocean market. Easier to say, hard to do, but do your research before. Don't go into something saturated and think you're gonna crush it. It's hard. It's very hard. You're gonna have an uphill battle here. Like you're just gonna fight against the water the entire way, and it's unlikely that you're gonna crush it. So yeah, have an advantage. If you don't have one, find one. That's the answer. It's hard, but that's the truth. Did
Yeah,
I answer your question, by the way?
yeah, totally. I always say that, like, if the no matter who you are, you have a background that nobody else has. You have skills that nobody else has. How are you going to use those skills to differentiate yourself? You know, like I uh I come from a music production background. I used to like sell beats to rappers to pay for rent way
Nice.
back in the day. And so, I reached out to e-commerce brands or ad agencies, both of them, and I'd say, "Hey, my beats are copyright free. I know that they'll help you get a lower cost per click. If you want to buy, 20 beats, here's a bundle I'm offering." And I just kind of started from there, and then started to like slowly chip away at the industry. I'm like, oh, okay, now I know a little bit more about this. Now I can do this. And just everyone has a base and everyone has a unique base, and just using that to your advantage. And then from there, stacking another skill, then stacking another skill. And pretty soon you're going to have all these skills. You're going to be great at, everything, right? Or just whatever you want to focus on. Like, for example, you being the systems guy, you're a great systems guy. Michael being the email guy, he's a great email guy. And both of you guys are killing it in your own right. That's for the greater good of the business. And, both of you didn't start that way. And you got to where you are just from stacking one skill at a time.
Yeah, I will open people's minds here. So it's so hard to do something practical with this advice. I do reckon that because I was in that position once. So just for people to understand how you can apply this to your own life. Let's say you like fingerboards, right? Like, or you like skateboarding. What do you do with that? Like, how can you make that into a business? Is you can directly, but you can indirectly. So let's say you want to start an agency and you want to do ads. What type of companies would you go after? Go after skateboard companies because you know the language, you know how it works, you understand about it. So in your outreach, you say, hey, I'm a skateboard lover. I love this. I'm always on the ramps, and I just want to reach out because I saw you're doing something cool with brand X, Y, and Z. And now you have your way in. So you leverage what you have to get the business, even though you're doing something completely different, which is ads. But you leverage your personal interest. That's actually the advice Michael gave me in that video that got me that client and then got me to meet Michael. So I wanted to pass on the knowledge.
Shout out, Michael.
Oh yeah.
Cool, Felipe. Hey, man. Again, I know I sound like a broken record here, but can't thank you enough for being here. The value in this podcast is tremendous. Definitely going to clip up some of the stuff. And anything before you go? Do you want to plug any social medias, your LinkedIn, your business? Just give a shout out to anybody while you're still here.
Dope. Let's do it real quick. So I'm not on social media almost whatsoever. I'm usually
Okay.
only working, but if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Felipe Fuhr _. So you can find me there. That's where you can reach me if you ever want to talk to me. Quick shout out to Michael that made all of this possible. And I'll also give 2 shout outs, and this will be a lesson for everyone listening too. So I had 2 people that really impacted me on like how I succeeded stuff. And the reason I can work like limitless amount of hours and not stop is I had kind of a military background. So my godfather and the person who taught me a lot is the world champion in Muay Thai. And then my first employer is a competitive volleyball player that traveled the entire world, and like he's great, he's phenomenal. So I had these 2 big influences, and I want to put their name here, Michelle and Jurgen. So both of them just trained me like to the max, and now I can excel in business much more because I come from like those mindsets, and I can just plow through pretty much anything like injuries, so forth. When fighting, like injury was nothing; you just continue hitting. So I want to say, if you guys are not focused like 100% on business, find great mentors and find people that are gonna push you to the edge, and that's gonna help in business like further down the line. So that's the last piece of value.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Thanks for being here, Felipe. And
Thanks for
yeah,
having me.
we'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
Of course. Bye bye.